I had this spontaneous idea to take you a little on the journey, which I mentioned in the morning. I call this journey my scientific awakening. And those of you who had the chance to get the book, I know they are sold out, I'm sorry for this. They will follow me on the journey. And those of you who couldn't get it, just get it on Amazon, because this is really something I would like to share with as many people as possible. And I will put my glasses, because I just for a few minutes take you on a little part of this journey. Here it is. But Davos had one more surprise for me. On the last day of my stay, invited by a doctor, I visited a special place. It was not in the valley, near the conference centers and hotels. It lay high up in the mountains, at an altitude of 2,500 meters, accessible only by a gondola that glided through snow clouds, carrying us higher and higher. When we stepped out, my breath was taken away. Not just because of the cold, so it was bitterly cold, but because of the landscape. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. Snow-capped peaks as far as the eye could reach. Valleys lost in a blue haze, a silence that was almost tangible. I felt as I were in Tibet, in the Himalayas, in a place that is not quite of this world. The place we visited was a house on the ski slope, but it was more than a house. It was a place of creativity, encounter, and transformation. It was a meeting point for people who thought beyond the ordinary, scientists, artists, spiritual seekers. I spoke about quantum technology, quantum energy, quantum consciousness, and quantum longevity, about the insights of quantum theory and their significance for the evolution of humanity. It was one of those talks where everything is right. The words flow. The audience is present. A space is created where the new becomes possible. Afterward, I sat for a long time with various people in conversations that went deeper than usual. But I was an unannounced guest, and there was no room for me to stay. This did not worry me. I had learned to trust the flow. Everything that had happened in the last few months has taught me, if I'm in the right place at the right time, doors open. I sat in the restaurant of the house overlooking the Swiss Alps and the snow-covered peaks and valleys. I ordered a salad with French dressing, and as I ate, I contemplated the landscape before me. It reminded me of something, of the vacuum landscape, of the quantum blueprint. The valleys, those were the attractors. The stable states, where the system lingers. The hills and mountains, those were the barriers between the attractors that must be overcome to move from one state to the other. The flat plains, those were the areas of high flexibility where the system can move freely. I saw it in my mind's eyes. The topology of life, mirrored in the topology of the Alps. Then the organizer approached me. "Shall I show you your room?" I was surprised. A room had been found, after all. "Oh yes," I said, "how wonderful. Follow me." She did not lead me up the stairs to the normal rooms. She led me straight ahead toward a door that led outside into the snow. I asked jokingly, "Am I going to stay in an igloo?" She smiled, "Yes." We walked down an icy staircase through a snowy landscape, and there they stood, two high-tech igloos, illuminated from within, futuristic and archaic at the same time. Through an opening in the first igloo, I saw a Buddhist monk, immersed in meditation, motionless, turned inward like a statue. The second igloo was assigned to me. I entered it. It was small but surprisingly comfortable. A bed, a small heater, which of course was not enough to truly warm the space, and a window overlooking the Alps. I knew immediately this would be a special night. I snuggled into the warm blankets and looked out at the landscape. The moon had risen, bathing the mountains in silver light. The silence was absolute. No cars, no voices, no hum of civilization. Only the wind occasionally brushing over the snow. My nose was cold. I eventually hid it under the blanket as well, but otherwise I was comfortably warm. I thought about the path that had led me here, the dark years, the journey through Asia, the encounter with Vicello's work, the development of the quantum blueprint, the publications, now Davos. And now an igloo in the Alps, with the monks as a neighbor. Life, I thought, is unpredictable, but it is also beautiful in its unpredictability. I slept deeply and dreamlessly. The next morning, I woke with the sun. It rose over the mountains, and its light turned the snow into gold. It was one of those moments when the world seems perfect, when everything is in its place, when you feel, yes, this is worth living for. I lay there for a while, watching the spectacle. Then I got up, dressed, and went over to the restaurant for breakfast. What happened next was the climax of my entire journey. In the restaurant, I saw a chessboard. It stood on a small table between two sofas. The pieces were set up as if someone wanted to play. Something pulled me toward the chessboard, an attraction I could not explain. I finished my breakfast quickly and went over. Two young men sat on the sofas, deep in conversation. I asked them in English, "Do you play chess?" They shook their heads. "No, the chessboard was already here when we sat down. Someone else must have left it here." I sat down next to one of them, a young man with a unique presence. He sat at his laptop, apparently programming, but at the same time radiating a deep inner peace. "Do you play chess?" I asked him. He barely reacted. So I added, "I was once a chess master." Played very intensely. Now he looked up. I saw him typing something into his laptop. He was communicating with an artificial intelligence he had trained himself. And then a conversation began that changed everything. He asked me why I spoke of chess if I obviously no longer played. The question struck me. How did he know I didn't play anymore? I told him about the journey through Southeast Asia, about the oracle at the Phoenix Temple, about stick number 44 and the message from the reader. Plan every step like a chess player. And I told him that 6 months ago, exactly at the time when my scientific awakening began, I had stopped playing chess. Without a conscious decision, it just happened. He nodded slowly, as if he understood something I had not yet fully grasped. "Why do you think you stopped?" he asked. I thought about it. The answer came slowly, but it came. "Because chess is a game with rigid rules," I said. "The pieces are always the same. They always follow the same movement patterns. The pawn can only go forward, the bishop only diagonal, the rook only on straight lines, the king only one step. And and the universe does not follow rigid rules. The laws of nature are not static. They have evolved. They are still evolving. The rules of the game we call life are dynamic. He smiled. You stopped playing chess because you started a new game. Yes, I said, a game whose rules can change with every move. A game that does not take place on 64 squares, but in the infinite landscape of the quantum vacuum. Then I told him about my work, about the 12 life fields, about the equation of life, about the publications in cosmology and biology. He listened attentively. Then he said, this equation of life interests me. Can you show it to me? I pulled out my smartphone and searched for the presentation I had shown in Davos. I took a screenshot of the slide with the equation and sent it to him. He imported the image into his AI, an artificial intelligence he had trained himself to analyze scientific concepts. The response came promptly. This is a valid equation, the AI said. It describes the dynamics of systems like galaxies and cosmological structures very well. I nodded, I knew that. My cosmological papers had confirmed it. But then came the decisive sentence. But it is not an equation of life. And it is certainly not an equation of consciousness, for it cannot distinguish between a galaxy, a cat, and a self-aware being. I stared at the screen. The words hit me like a bolt of lightning. The AI was right. My equation described coherent systems. It described how order parameters evolve in an energy landscape. It described the dynamics of vacuum states, but it could not distinguish between a stationary coherent system like a galaxy and a flowing coherent system like a living being. A galaxy is ordered. It has structure, organization, coherence, but it is static in the sense that it does not constantly move through different organizational states. It remains in its attractor. A living being, on the other hand, is constantly moving from sleep to waking, from rest to activity, from digestion to movement. It flows through the landscape of states without ever standing still. That was the difference. That was what my equation did not yet capture. At that moment, on the sofa next to the chessboard, overlooking the Swiss Alps, I had the next great realization. What distinguishes life from non-life is not coherence alone. A galaxy is also coherent. What distinguishes life is flow. A non-zero probability current. Living beings flow. They move through state space. They transition from one organizational state to the next. They are this flow. Galaxies stand still. They have a fixed place in the vacuum landscape. They are coherent but static. Life is a coherent movement. It suddenly became clear to me what I had to do. I had to expand my equation. Not change the equation itself, it was correct, but I had to add a criterion that describes the flow, the flux density in state space. If this flow is zero, we have a static coherent system, a galaxy, a crystal, an object. If this flow is non-zero, we have a living system, an organism that moves constantly, that never stands still, that lives. And then something else dawned on me. There is not just one jump from non-living to living, there are several jumps. To be continued. So what I was describing there is a transition from the equation of life to the mother equation. And if you remember the Mother, I think you all remember the Mother equation. It was J equal to diffusion minus drift plus circulation. And J in physics is flow. It's a flow of possibility. So the Mother equation shows how possibility flows. It shows how coherence flows, how we flow as a living entity, as a never-stopping circulation through the possibility space, and projecting every moment into our physical body, into our conscious psychological experience, and into our identity as a self in this world. These three projections are always dynamic projections from the underlying flow, because we as a self are eternal movement. We never stand still. This is the Ananda aspect of the living entity. It's not static. This is what we are. So now I want to become a little more practical, not too practical, don't worry, because the real practice we will do tomorrow morning before breakfast or after breakfast, as you want. Some of you like to eat before. Some of you like to do the practice or the meditation before, and then it's still half an hour to eat. So we have arranged in this way. So I want to show you now the first part of becoming practical. I prepare you a little for the practice tomorrow. So this is part 3, and then I come back to part 2, how we apply it in TimeWaver to analyze and harmonize the information field, and how we translate it into frequencies with the TimeWaver frequency and with the TimeWaver home. So that's the practical part. Please follow me. A new practice. So this is a journey into the depths of who we truly are. And this is a journey through the 3 levels of the information field, as I discovered them on this journey. The first level of the information field is the conjugate information space, with Giuseppe Vicello and Umezawa, and this group of physicists has discovered it. This is the information field where we contacting it through the quantum noise of the TimeWaver, and we have it in the TimeWaver home also, the quantum noise, which directly contacts the information field. Then we go deeper into the landscape of coherence, which I was so much reminded of in the Swiss Alps, seeing this beautiful landscape of mountains and valleys under the almost eternal snow. And then we go deeper to the 3rd level, where we rest at the source, but resting at the source means resting in the eternal movement of the source. Because, as it is said in the Upanishads, the self moves and it doesn't move. What moves and simultaneously doesn't move? The circulation. It always moves, but it always returns to where it starts. This is the eternal circulation in the Mother equation, which, if you translate it into physiology, is a parameter of health. How strong is our internal circulation? And the stronger the circulation inside is, the stronger is the diffusion also, and that's exciting. There is a coupling between the diffusion, which gives us a chance to explore newer and newer things. Like if you come to Davos, like last year I was invited by a Singaporean man, a business tycoon, a billionaire who has 8 TimeWavers in his companies. And he had a house in Davos where he invited me to speak about quantum longevity. Dr. Nandarani Meister was also there with me, and this was an amazing experience. So like Davos is such a place, you're just meeting one person after the other, and each encounter is exciting and gives you a new perspective for your own life. This is diffusion. But you can only handle the diffusion if your circulation is strong, which carries you through the attractors of life. So diffusion and circulation are related to each other. And if they are strong, the drifts in life cannot really shake you, like the waves on the ocean. You know, they shake you, but they don't pull you off. So this is the deepest, and the practice in the source is something which we do by getting in contact with our own self. And getting in contact with our unique self will give us an insight into what our lifeline is, the geodetic movement I was speaking about. So before I told you there is 12 fields of life, and each of these 12 fields of life has 4 directions, A, B, C, D. And I promise you, in 1 week, you will know all these 12 times 4 fields of life by heart, because it's so exciting to study it and then to apply it and analyze your patients or your clients according to this. And it's always A is stability, ground in the stable, reference, rest in the attractor. That's starting. See what you are, and you will see in the practice, which we do tomorrow together, it has 4 phases where you're going through. And the first phase is related to stability. You observe where you are right now in this very moment without trying to change anything. Just the observation of how your body is. What is in your body? What are the tangents? Remember the tangents? How important they are? What is the Greek letter for it in my formula? Yeah, phi, 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 phi. Phi is the tangent. And remember, from the dynamic of the tangent comes the Schrödinger equation. From the drift comes the Born's rule. And from the geometry of the tangent comes Einstein's equation of general relativity, gravity, and matter. It's all from phi. And phi is nothing else than the internal tangent of being. And something which manifests in front of our eyes as an object, like a stable chair, is the minimum state of tension. Because it's blue and not blue. If it would be blue and simultaneously not blue, there would be an internal tension. So reality always shifts into this kind of coherent states which minimizes the tension. This is a principle. It's also Carl Friston's principle of the minimization of free energy, which Vicello is always talking about. So recognize the tensions in your body, recognize the tensions in your psyche, in your emotional, cognitive state, and then recognize where you are right now in your identity space, in yourself, how you experience yourself as a unique being. So this is the first phase. It's called stability. Then you go deeper into flexibility. You're opening it up. After you saw where you are, how you are right now, you're going deeper. You're going deeper and try to connect to the circulation within. And the first recognition of the circulation, which is always there and never stops, any moment in your life, is your breath. So in the second phase, flexibility, or B in our scheme, in the second phase, you just recognize there is a breath without concentrating on it. It's not an exercise of concentration, but it's just an observation. And we know in quantum physics, observation alone changes. But the more you try to change or achieve anything or concentrate, you get into drift. and we want to overcome drift because our life is being drifted here and drifted there by attractors, by thoughts, by emotions, by tensions, by things we like, by things we don't like. And our mind is constantly going to these attractors. So we look into, first we observe the breath, and we see, oh, we are breath, and we go deeper. And then we see there is a circulation below the breath. There's a heartbeat. So this second phase, flexibility, is called thinking. Not thinking, but thinking. I think my English pronunciation will have no chance to make the difference. Thinking means going deep, Thinking, not thinking. It's the idea. It doesn't matter thinking or not thinking, you should be thinking. So that's the second phase. B, flexibility. And then C, after opening up, going through the drift, getting in touch with your circulation, strengthening the circulation, then you can open up for the new. And this is the third phase, which is called swinging. And diffusion is allowed to come and give you thoughts or emotions or ideas. And this is a creative phase where you're just absolutely open to the new. And then there's a fourth phase called D, or integration. And this is where you just ask the question. We will do this tomorrow. It's only the last 5 minutes. You just ask the one question. Who is it observing this all? And whatever answer comes, don't take it serious. Don't stick with the answer. It's not about the answer, it's only about the question. Because any answer which might come, oh, I'm Markus, or I'm consciousness, or I know I'm the Atma, or I'm the spirit soul, will not help you. Because this is just an answer. And this is not who you truly are. And this is to be observed in a deep state of turning towards the self, turning towards yourself, turning inside. So this is the 4 phases which absolutely correspond to the ABCD classification of the 48 fields of life, which we have here again. 12 fields of life, and each of them has A, B, C, D. Stability, flexibility, exploration, and integration. And like this, we are going around and going around. Foundation, protection, balance, centeredness, flow, vitality, renewal, blueprint, restoration, clarity, emotion, unity, and again, coming to foundation. This you will see very soon in practice in our Quantum Longevity module in TimeWaver Pro. You will see the circulation. We are constantly circulating through these 12 fields of life every day, every month, every year, every life. This is a constant circulation which we deeply are. Oh, here's the equation. You see the mathematical terms again. The gradient of rho with a minus. Minus means diffusion always pulls things towards the empty space. If there is a place which is empty, diffusion will bring things there. Also here there is a minus before the gradient of phi, which means the drift pulls everything down. It's also a minus to the valley, because the valley is the minimum of tension. And this is what dynamics always tries to do, minimize tension. Also disease is a minimization of tension in itself. And then the only positive term is omega rho, and omega is circulation itself, which is life. So these are the 3 phases of the coherence practice: gathering, thinking, resonating, and anchoring in the self. So, and if you come there, if you reach this, what you are, this, you recognize it's an eternal movement. It's an eternal circulation. And this is, J can never be zero. This is a law of physics. That J, the circulation, can never be zero. And this is non-different from Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty. The uncertainty principle of Heisenberg demands this in the possibility space, that there is a never zero circulation, and that this is what we are. We are not created. We don't have a creator, because we are as eternal as God himself. So now, this was the theory part for tomorrow's practice. So you are all invited, if you're an early bird, to come at 7:45 to our meditation. And now, coming back to this poster, and I have already recognized that you really got also excited by the poster. And through this poster, we are angreifbar. What is angreifbar? Attackable. We are actually attackable. But to be attackable means you're scientific. If you have this, you say, yeah, you can analyze it in the information field. And then, yeah, but it all depends on your consciousness. If your consciousness is good, the results are good. If your consciousness are not good, you don't get the same results. And you can't test it anyway, because if you test it, it doesn't work. So in this way, we are absolutely not attackable. Nobody can prove us wrong, and nobody can prove us right. This is not the scientific approach. The scientific approach, defined by the philosopher Karl Popper, is falsifiability. You have to make statements which can be proven wrong. So here there are 48 statements which can be proven wrong. There are 48 quantum substrates related to ABCD1, ABCD2, ABCD3, and so on, which is the physiology of the quantum body. Like if you say there is a liver in the body, you're attackable, you can be falsified, because if you do an abduction and you don't find the liver, then you're wrong. We say everyone who is alive has a liver. Probably this can be proven. It can also be falsified. So we say everyone who is alive has a quantum Goldstone bosons on the level of the intracellular water, or on the level of the vagus nerve, or on the level of the electromagnetic coherent field in the neocortex. So there are 48 of these quantum substrates vibrating with Goldstone bosons, and this can be falsified, and this can be measured. And this is a connection between the information field and the physical body. It's the bosons. So this is what we are really interacting with when we are applying the frequency. And therefore, we have for each of these 48 fields, here you see the 12 fields of life, times 4 means times ABCD. Then you get for each field ABCD 4 subfields: stability, flexibility, exploration, and integration. This is theta 1. Remember theta? I take theta as a Greek letter for it because Vigello uses theta as the order parameter for the vacuum. So theta 1 is a physical parameter. If theta 1 is 0, means there are 0 bosons. Means the quantum substrate, which is intracellular water, doesn't quantum vibrate. Means the person is dead. It's not possible. It's not possible. If we are alive, we have a quantum vibration on the level theta 1a, which is the coherence domains within the water of the body. And they are responsible for all the communication of the different parts of the cells, of the molecules within the cells, because the molecules in the cells communicate through the water, through the Goldstone bosons here. So that's the first level. Then there's a cell level, second level, which is a cell resting membrane potential. So that's an electronic property of the cell membrane. So there are electrons, but these electrons are connected to the water. So this is membrane dipole fields, coherent dipole oscillations, and this is the so-called Fröhlich condensates. Herbert Fröhlich was actually a physicist, the German physicist, who really deeply discovered coherent processes within the human organism. The third exploration is related to the osmotic balance, and it's related to ion-water coupling fields, because that's extremely important for the cell, the transport of ions through the cell membrane, through the ion channels. They're called ion channels, and they're little nanomotors constantly turning around with certain frequencies and transporting the potassium and the sodium through the ion and other ions also, like protons. And they are regulating the electrolytic balance between intra and extracellular space. Phosphor is also a very important element here, an important ion. And then on the deepest level of integration, again, the water is the quantum substrate, which is the water chromatin coupling fields. This is the water around the chromatin, the water around the DNA, which has a very, very important significance to transport the information contained in the DNA and communicate it with the environment. This is the research which Luc Montagnier did in the last years of his life, after he got crazy. The post-Nobel Prize syndrome, you know, they think, oh, people get crazy, and then they do some research on frequencies and vibrations. No, they don't have to care for their career anymore. They got a Nobel Prize, you know. It doesn't matter anymore what the colleagues think, and if they can publish in the good journals, because they got the Nobel Prize, so they can do the real stuff, you know. So this is what was going on, and he published with Vicello the DNA laser wave paper and so on, the PCR test, which is was very important during COVID times, because even the simple PCR test only works if you understand that the DNA of the virus and the enzymes which need to connect to the water, the intercellular and extracellular water, which transmits the quantum vibrations. Biochemically, it just doesn't work. So this is just the first field of light, theta 1. And I have another example. Theta 8, my favorite, is called blueprint. And it is the blueprint structure, the architecture. So the architecture is on 4 levels. Stability. So the stability in our system is given by the matrix, the extracellular space, the connective tissue, which is the biggest organ, and it's so important. So here you have the collagen piezoelectrical fields, which is a quantum substrate, and the vibrations on this are very, very closely related to our energetic states, to the meridians, which are also related to the collagen piezoelectrical fields. So this is the stability. Then the flexibility is in the mechano-piezoelectrical fascial coupling. The fascial system is extremely important. Therefore, in the patent of the application of the mother equation for health, which we issued yesterday evening, I told you about, it's very important that we measure the micro movements very sensitively of the body. Because the fascial system, as the second level flexibility architecture of the body, is movement. It's related to movement. So before we get sick, there is a difference in the micro movement, a change in the micro movements. So in the device which I developed for measurement and for harmonization, I measure the heart rate variability, I measure the micro movements of the body on 6 axes, and I measure the temperature change. And this gives us all the insight into the vibrations of these different levels. So the third level is the epigenetic network oscillation. So that's really important. Science is just discovering, and the fourth level is the genetic, the chromatin level itself. So this was just 2 examples of 2 of the life fields, theta 1 and theta 8, which are closely connected, foundation and blueprint, and you can understand this ABCD structure in practice. And now, in the last 10 minutes which we have, which we will expand into 15, just not more, I will ask Michael Mooney to support me in the practical application, because we have implemented this 48 life field structure and logic deeply into all the TimeWaver instruments which we have, which are the TimeWaver Pro, working purely with quantum noise oscillators, the TimeWaver Frequency, which is working with frequencies which are interacting with the Goldstone bosons of the 48 life fields. For this, I analyzed the carrier frequencies of the quantum substrates along with the quantum oscillations, which are the Goldstone bosons. So it's always a combination of 2 frequencies, a carrier frequency and an envelope frequency. So that's how the logic is. And additionally, we use noise, because in the third field, exploration, where we are looking for new attractors, we are exploring the landscape, we apply a certain percentage of noise. And the frequency and the home can do this. These devices are programmed in such a way that we can mix the frequencies with the white noise from the quantum oscillator to create such a diffused signal. In bioregulation, this is called stochastic resonance. You know, it's something very powerful. Yeah, so here you see the energy point module of the quantum longevity module in TimeWaver Pro. It's the same picture which you find here, but behind this we have all the database. And now you will see, we do an analysis of myself. Now you will see the circulation in a very beautiful way. So it was quickly recording the quantum vibrations of all the 48 levels. And here we see 3 of the 48 subfields. This is theta 2, adaptive defense. It's related to the life field protection. It's one of the 4 functionalities of the immune system, which has a minus 63% of relevance. The second, sharper, blurry. Yeah, I'm not sure if we can do this. We have to see. Here is the second. Can you go on the second? Integration, which is theta 11D. 11 is emotion. It's a field emotion. And D is the integration. So integration of the emotional faculty. It's the second, which we found here. And then if you stay with it shortly, then if you go from here to here, you see the analysis in the underlying database. And the underlying database reflects the 6 pillars of coherence medicine, which I identified as psychological, emotional, energetic, homeopathic, biomolecular, and lifestyle. So we have 6 databases related to these 6 pillars. And so here the first is psychological, the relation between emotions and bodily expression, very important. Here it's the same. It's all about integration of emotion and body, because emotion and body are so much connected. Our whole body system is memorizing each emotion which we're having, especially if they're not digested. But there's also a biochemical level, cytochrome C oxidases, terminal electron acceptor, because of course we know that the emotional integration also depends on the biochemical integration. Phosphor is a very important element in the emotional network, because phosphor has an electron, a free electron with a spin, which is a quantum substrate. So one can go deeper into it. So, and then here the fascial network is very important. So 3 is enough. And from this now, please create a harmonization list. So the first, go up, please. Yeah, the first is from the adaptive system, the coherent immune signaling networks. And so we looked at this. Oh, so all 3 of them are related to the same theta 2b. So one can look a little deeper into it. And then here you always have, here's a homeopathic remedy related to the thyroid gland, and so on. So you can go into each of these deeper aspects. So this is speaking a language which a therapist can understand. So for us, it's important. Of course, there is much more information about the 48 fields, subfields of life, and they are all in the book Coherence Medicine. So most of you speak English, so you will need to wait until next week to get it just through Amazon KDP. Like we also, we ordered all these books through Amazon, so you just get it there. And this is a really important book. And I think for those who purchase this module, which we kept really low price, because we want this to be the next generation of work with TimeWaver, to elevate TimeWaver to a basis which is very strongly backed up scientifically, which is attackable, because we are talking about the connection between the biophysical body and the coherence landscape. It's measurable, so we can challenge the scientific community on this level. And yeah, so that's the next level. So everyone who purchases this module will get access to a chat GPT version, which we trained in all the aspects of knowledge of the 48 fields of life and the way how to apply coherence medicine. So you can just upload your analysis there and tell it, interpret it in English or Romanian or whatever language. It speaks all the languages. So you get a report and you can discuss with it. So this will help you to understand. Normally, he will first just give some energetic and emotional and psychological, and then if you want, you don't have to, you ask, can you tell it me in medical terminology also? You will say, I'm not a doctor, but I will still do it. So you get out information which goes really deep on all the different levels. So this ChatGPT is trained by us, and I permanently update it with all the new findings which I have, and all the new integrations. So this will help you. For example, he's coming up with vitamin E, which is an antioxidant, which helps with the membrane lipid protection, stability of cellular boundaries. So that's really important with, I don't know, an intensity of 88.970, 997. What is this intensity? Relevance. Oh, it's a relevance. So that seems to be important for me, and so on. Yeah, so this is the first package in the TimeWaver. And now you show, please, the optimization. Vibration. Go to vibrate. I like it if it vibrates. Up there, vibrate. In the harmonization list. Yes, so this is now the harmonization in the information field, the adaptive immune. This is in the blueprint, theta 8b, the fascial network, and this is the emotional integration. So I think this is really a very, very beautiful and very powerful new tool, and in connection with a book and with a poster, I think you can really make sense of it. And then, of course, we have the renaissance of our good and old TimeWaver Home. Because the TimeWaver Home is really powerful. It's little, you can play table tennis with it if you want. It doesn't harm, maybe the display is sensitive. But I think it's really a very powerful tool because it has the ability also to play more complex vibrational patterns. So we could transfer all these 48 programs there. So you can either get a new TimeWaver Home with a sticker, 84 live fields inside, and then you have 48 programs, and you also can analyze which of them you need, or the person, your patient needs right now. So this is in the Analyze module in the TimeWaver Home. And if you have already a TimeWaver Home, you can just get it updated from us. But you have to send it. It doesn't work through the internet. You have to send your TimeWaver Home to us. We update it with these programs, and you get it back home. So that's the second level. And then in the TimeWaver frequency, you have also the 48 programs. And here, you will see that it has certain patterns which cannot be applied on any of the other devices. So Healy cannot do it. You cannot transfer these programs to the Healy because the Healy is more limited in the frequency range and with frequency logic. So this will stay on the TimeWaver frequency, and this will stay on the TimeWaver Home, and together it's a new approach. Because for us it's really important. We want to have and keep TimeWaver relevant for the therapist. Many of you are, and it was so important for us to develop our own philosophy and our own approach to the organism as a whole. And I believe with this new coherence medicine, the integral coherence medicine, we with TimeWaver can be again trendsetters in the therapeutic community, which we once have been, but you cannot stand still, you have to develop. Somebody actually asked me today, but Marcus, you sure in 3 years this will be the same? I said, the mother equation is the same. It was not discovered yet. It was originally discovered by Einstein, 1905. And this was the first time it was mentioned in scientific literature, but he didn't call it mother equation, he didn't call it Fokker-Planck equation, it's not called Einstein equation because nobody really recognized it at that time. He uses this equation to describe the Brownian molecular movement of molecules. And then later, Max Planck used it for describing flow in stochastic, like thermodynamic systems. And then, so it kept being used in the scientific community until Riesken wrote a big book about the Fokker-Planck applications and so on. But the third term was missing, the circulation was missing. Without the circulation, it's not complete. So, but the mother equation will not change. This is deriving quantum physics, it's deriving theory of relativity, it all follows from this. In the same way, this structure is a structure, is a structure of the information field of the second level of the vacuum landscape. So if you want to look a little deeper into this, Mooney is always there at his TimeWaver Quantum Mobile, and he can do some analysis for you. Many of you have looked at it already, and I hope you will enjoy it. All right, time is over. Thank you very much. Dankeschön.